I'm seeing the city on fire. I'm seeing as we cross Woodbury, as we get to Washington. Now I see as we get to Woodbury, I'm like, the church is on fire. The building is on fire. That house is on fire. That big house behind the park, it's like a big plantation house. That whole thing is an inferno. It's on fire. Like, shit is on fire. And now I'm seeing, oh gosh, right? So let me just see if I can we get to our house? And we just kept getting stopped by the smoke, the fire, the ash. It was like, nope, back it up. Let's go this way. We go this way. Fire, ash, ember, stop, back it up, because you can't see. It just envelops you and you realize, oh shit, my life is on the line. Shit, no, this is the moment right here where people's tires melt. And they burn up in their cars. You're not finna be her. We're not finna do that. You're not getting home. And God willing, your house will still be standing, but you ain't getting home. And we didn't get home.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Ride. You're on the Mothership inside the Black Woman Magic Room with the greatest podcast on earth.
G-Po.
I am. Yeah, that's right. Okay. I am one of your co-hosts, Crystal Tennille Irby, mother of 4.
I am Thea Monyee, mother of 3.
And I am Nikisha Killings, mother of 4.
And it is Women's History Month. And also
Crystal's birthday month.
A national holiday, indeed. A whole month.
It really is a national holiday. You know, a lot of stuff happened the year I was born. I wrote a whole poem about it. This is a very important year. But it's the beginning of the zodiac calendar. At least that's what they say. I don't know that to be fact, but that's what they say.
But she likes when they say it.
I like when they say it. It's not Aries season yet, but it's going to be Aries season soon. But I'm accepting gifts all month. All month. That's a Aries Freudian slip.
That really is Aries. That's exactly what I was thinking. That's so Aries.
But I'll be accepting gifts all month if you want to be, generous. But the big thing that's going on this month for my birthday, and I'll talk about this more in the church announcements, is I'm doing a fundraiser for my nonprofit Creators Well. That's the best way that you can give to me right now. So this episode is like our usual episodes. We'll start out with our responsive reading from the Black Woman Magic card deck right here. And then we'll move into our church announcements, praise reports, prayer list requests, and then our mac and cheese. And we're going to be talking about the LA fires. I think that it's so important that we talk about that, not only because one of our own, Thea Monyee, was impacted and displaced due to the fires, but I just want to make sure that our stories are told, that the experience of Black mothers is documented, is captured, is archived, so people ain't never got to look around. They can look right here to see how we navigated this moment in time. And our Black Mama Say will be a little bit different this episode. It will be the word that we're going to choose for the year. The word
we're going to remember this year.
The word that's going to
maybe
guide
the word
us.
Collectively is remember.
Will we all have words this year? Let's see.
I have a word. Who did
Yet to be seen. I don't usually have one.
Oh, that's you.
At all.
I didn't want to say anything, Nikisha. I didn't want to say anything.
Nikisha's being transparent.
Stick around to find out.
Stick around to find out.
The suspense of whether or not Nikisha will have a word.
Whether or not she had a word. I just try to
feel like she has it. She just brought it up.
I hope so.
It was very Scorpio-esque the way she brought it up. I feel like...
I hope so.
Maybe there's a little issue. Will she, won't she?
I'm just a simple girl from South Carolina who try to do a little something for the people. So I hope you have your word. I hope you can participate in that inspiration, Nikisha.
Okay. We'll see what comes up by the time we get to that segment. Okay.
By the time. Okay, let's pick a card. Okay. A number. And our mac and cheese is really good. Our guest, I didn't see who our guest is. Our guest for our mac and cheese, Thea will be talking about her experience, but our guest is Staci Mitchell. And Staci has been on our podcast. She is an amazing Ayurvedic yoga instructor, and we've done like events with her where she's taught yoga. So she'll be our guest. She is a resident of Altadena and lost her home in the fire, and so she'll be sharing her experience as well. And so it's powerful. Of course it's heavy, but that's okay. Okay, so card number.
I'm feeling sixes. So you got a 6, 16, 26. What, you see anything?
So I'll see which one comes up first.
Mm-hmm.
A 6. So what's that about, Keish?
Mm-hmm. I don't know. Let's see.
Let me see what comes up first. 16 is
Interesting.
For you.
I'm so not an influencer. Look, I'm looking for the camera. Look, I'm
terrible. They know where that little whole
not
camera
an
is.
influencer. Impossible You. Card number 6 is Impossible You. Oh, I'm sorry. Before we start this, I want to introduce someone else to our podcast. Thea, would you like to introduce?
Come here, pup.
He's been on before.
Come here, honey. Come here.
You first
he'll
met
be
him in
back
our
in a second.
episode with Tequila. Keisha, you
Was
weren't
he
here.
in that one?
He was in that one. Bring him on up. It's Thea's new dog.
He's my 6-month-old puppy. His full name is River Marley. We refer to him lovingly as Remy. He's a really bright mini golden doodle with like a little hit, beautiful eyes, gorgeous, and lots of personality. Him and Auntie Crystal have a bit of a beef.
So I just want to say,
It's like a one-sided beef. Remy don't have no beef with her.
Remy does have beef with me. So I just want to say, Thea's dog, Riley, was often present when we were recording, and all we ever heard was Riley's little claws hitting the ground. We never heard any barking. We never heard any squeaking from toys. We just heard Riley's little feet whenever he wanted to cuddle
Little
with
click,
Thea.
click, clack. Mm-hmm.
That won't be the case with this one.
Oh, no, that one's squeaky. Yeah, Auntie Crystal's going to hate that. He's like a little baby.
Did he lick your face?
He did. He's such a little baby.
That's very
California.
Caucasian.
I don't like the mouth, but I can do the other, like, no. Okay,
Nikisha,
no.
does your dog lick your face?
You know Nikisha's dog doesn't barely lick her hands. You know Nikisha don't.
Come on now.
Nikisha said, come on now. Nairobi?
Okay.
Okay, Nairobi. That dog's name is
try it.
Nairobi. Okay, Nairobi. That's a black ass dog. Nairobi.
be calling the
knows.
people on me.
Nairobi was birthed to a woman in head wraps. Nairobi has no confusion.
She know what it is.
Locks could go a lot of ways. You can't quite.
With the
We
head
go a lot of
doesn't.
ways.
Okay. Card number. I'm gonna try to do my influencer thing. Card.
We see it.
16.
There it is.
Impossible
It's
You.
good.
Okay. Dear Mama. 16, Thea. Oh, 1 and 6 is 7. Did I get that
That's
right?
7. The 7 is good. Yeah.
7 is completion.
Completion.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Dear Mama, long before you were even a thought, somebody prayed for you. Somebody asked for protection and blessings and guidance for you. Somebody was thankful for you and sought the heavens on your behalf. So, this is good. Nikisha, I think you wrote this.
I think it was Nikisha too.
Yeah, somebody who could never have imagined life today knew that their wildest dreams would be realized in you. What can limit dreams made into flesh? That's good.
That's some good writing.
Impossible You.
That's good.
Okay, so
That's
we're going to
good.
move into our church announcements, praise reports, and prayer list request. You want me to start?
Let me start.
Okay, go ahead.
So let me give you first my announcements. I'm in these streets.
Okay.
I'm doing this joy work. Please go visit my website because I'm about to roll out some individual work with people on this joy assessment to go deeper. But it's me, so I'm not taking hordes of people. I just can't do it. I can't go back.
I can't go back. I can't go. Therapy has made it so I need to cap a cap.
I can't go back.
Also, the Patreon. We're doing a year of curiosity at Marley.io. We're on our second question in this year of curiosity, and we sit as a community in this question for an entire month together and let the work, and there's prompts. And so if you join the Patreon, you'll be a part of all of that. Who I would like to put on a prayer request list is any non-Beehive members who are attempting to come to this concert.
That was my praise report.
Because, let me tell you, last year in 2024, when everybody was like, who to vote for, we were like, Beyonce. We have a very clear political party, very clear message, very clear agenda. We like each other. We get along. And I would be willing to bet that we vote in unison. Okay? Right now, we are the strongest political force in this country. We're the most unified. And
For sure.
And we held the queen down last year when y'all tried to drag her for filth. And now I know, now that we have Album of the Year, which we didn't even care about, but we got it, and we got Country Album of the Year, you're going to try to slide your asses on this chitlin circuit. You already know it's a limited number. Yes, because haters like to watch. They like to witness. And then all the this is the thing.
Crazy.
I don't even like.
They do.
I don't even like in-betweeners. If Beyonce's cool, no, you cannot get a seat.
Hold on. This is how I know Thea's getting intense, because she moves closer and closer, and then when she gets really intense, she'll be like this. Like her head will be cut off. This is the thing. She gets really intense.
I'm not giving up everything in 2025 like I did in 2024.
Don't give it up.
Okay?
Don't give it up.
I'm not giving it up. The reality is, don't be curious. Don't be curious.
You think haters will come? That's crazy.
I think some people are going to be curious, and even if they don't want to admit how amazing she is, they're going to not want to. They don't want to be like, I didn't go, I wasn't there. But I'm not for that. If you are not willing to put in the sweat equity that it takes to be a Beehive member, if you're not ready to memorize every word and don't come.
Don't do it.
Because there's plenty of us. We can fill them seats. We don't need you. Khadijah don't need you.
That's real.
Khadijah don't need you.
I love that.
Things that
Thank you, Lakeisha.
I mean,
put them on the list.
That's it.
Because on site, you getting chopped in the throat. We're not going to be nice like we were for Renaissance.
This is the type of energy I love.
And there were way more dates. But this time, the rubber is meeting the road.
That's it. I love it.
Was that all you have, Thea? Because that was.
Is there anything else?
You took my praise.
Praise is what
I was about to say praise is what I do.
Praise is what.
Okay.
There's a gospel song for every situation.
For everything.
Yeah, there is.
Okay. First, I want to do a praise report, and that goes into my prayer list request. Okay. So praise report is, I want to give Nikisha some praise because Nikisha was right.
That does happen. What was I right about?
You were right when you did your presentation on DEI, and you had a funeral for it. So I want to give Nikisha some praise for that.
They weren't ready for it.
Praise
they weren't
Nikisha.
ready.
What do you say, Thea? We're ahead of
we don't do the rest of the research because we're ahead of the research.
We don't do the research because we're ahead of the research. I do research.
She does do research.
So I just want to give Nikisha praise for that, because you was getting funny looks when you told people that you were going to do that presentation. So I just want to give you some praise for that.
Absolutely.
That goes into my prayer list request. I want to put Black women entrepreneurs who have products in Target on the prayer list. And I don't know what's going to be going on with this boycott by the time this comes out. Let me just say this. I'm not even a fan of DEI. I feel like if your company doing what they're supposed to be doing, you shouldn't even have to have a DEI policy. It should just be a part of the culture. And the other part about DEI that bothers me is that white women are the biggest beneficiaries of DEI, but the face of DEI is always Black. And we benefit the least. We're at the bottom of that list in terms of benefiting. But when it comes to the news about DEI and pushback against Target, we're somehow looked to be the face of it. I don't know if it's not on my timeline, but I haven't seen any white women who have products in Target making any statements
No.
about how they feel. I just want to pray for those Black women, entrepreneurs who, so cute, who I don't take it lightly, the work that they did to get into a retail store and the burden that probably lifted off them and how they were blindsided by this and now being thrown under the bus, not only by Target, but also by, some people.
Instivist.
Some people in our own community. So
who didn't even watch Schoolhouse Rock.
I'm just a girl from South Carolina who watched Eyes on the Prize and minored in Black Studies because it wasn't a major at the time at my university when I went there. But what I do know is during the Montgomery bus boycott, the people who were going to be impacted the most, the Black folks who took the bus, who didn't have cars, it was their only mode of transportation, there was organization around accommodating them and helping them, get to their jobs. And, the boycott was highly coordinated and intentionally organized. And so I just want to send a prayer out to these people because the people who this is going to impact the most is Black women, small business owners, because we are at the bottom of that DEI list. And so I just want to put all those people on the prayer list, and also just thinking about if you are a person who's advocating for a boycott, then also do some work around how these people can be supported.
I would like to say this in a hood way, just for everybody, just for clarity.
Okay.
What Crystal's saying is we need less AI activists and more composition notebook activists. Okay, the difference is, okay, when you can't just click something and it says ding, 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 and there's like no information, no context, no intersectionality, okay, then you become an AI activist. What Crystal wants is more of a composition notebook. You can see the lines. You can see, Remy, we're teaching. This is important. She wants to see that line goes to that line. Mothers, Black women entrepreneurs, boycott, Target. See the Target? You can see the Target. You can't do this with AI. You click it, see what I'm saying? So Crystal's saying, okay, what she's saying, I know this is hard. They still sell these and they're cheaper now. That you need to see it in real life. Look at the parts. Feel it, okay? Talk to people. Take more than 45 seconds to digest information.
I'm also saying watch Eyes on the Prize.
She's very much... Also, I was throwing Schoolhouse Rocks.
It's on YouTube. Well, Schoolhouse Rock is. I don't know about Eyes on the Prize, but you can get Eyes on the Prize somewhere. You can watch it somewhere. And what you'll see is Black taxi cab companies... and carpools were organized for this. Now, again, this was local, so we have to bring this to the 21st century. But in
doing so, because you used a key word, I want to write this down, and I'm not going to do it in cursive because we don't really understand cursive anymore. But there's a word, everyone, that Crystal keeps referring to. The word is organize. I didn't write it in cursive because, that's also a lost art. But
I'm not saying
she said it multiple times. Organization requires what? What are we going to put in the next thought bubble, Nikisha? Thinking.
I'm not saying...
What kind of thinking? Critical.
Let me get this.
You see,
I'm not.
Crystal, I'm just trying to help. I'm in the background.
She's translating.
I'm not saying it's not organized. Strike for all. We are somebody until freedom. They are organizing. There are pastors who are calling on people to fast and pray, starting doing Lent, for this. I'm not saying it's not organized. I'm just saying that if you feel the need to comment, just make sure you've watched Eyes on the Prize and you looked at Thea's diagram.
That's all. I'll send a picture. We can put it in a note.
I think there's like a culture of a pile-on. When I do comment, I'll be more thoughtful about what I say, because I think if we learn nothing else from these elections, don't think that what you're saying doesn't have impact because you don't have a lot of followers. You're adding to a chorus. So I just want people to be more informed when they're adding to the chorus, and I'm just putting those people on my prayer list. And last thing is, we're on YouTube, people. If you're watching on YouTube, hi friends, hi folks, leave a comment. Leave a comment. Talk back to us. But make sure you don't just watch, you subscribe. If you're not watching on YouTube and you want to get all the hand movements, all the eye movements, Thea's diagram.
You want to see Remy?
You want to see Remy. Then
you know the way she talks about Remy is how Elmo talks about Rocco.
So true. That's fact.
I love how Elmo talks. That's one of my favorite things in the world. Elmo shading Rocco. Of course he is. That's how Elmo. Of course he is. Rocco's here. Of course he is.
My church announcement and praise report is I quit this church. I don't go here no more. Don't ask me for nothing. I quit.
What church you quit? Are you quitting the show right now?
No, the United States.
Oh.
I knew the church. Is it the United States of America?
I didn't know the church.
Is you quitting the United States of America?
What the fuck?
It's just like,
the recording, Rich. I'm not quitting the show.
I'm not quitting the show.
God.
You don't do me like that.
I wouldn't do you like that. Listen.
So what does this mean, Nikisha? Are you no longer talking about diversity and inclusion?
Crystal and I had two different ideas of what this quitting looks like.
You did.
I was like,
you did.
I quit
and I appreciate
all
it both.
the things. And here's why. I could just go directly to Black women and be like, hey, bitch, what you need? I don't have to be in them streets all know nothing, because all of it feeds the machine. You know what I'm saying? I'm not feeding the machine at all.
I just think there are a lot of definitions out there of what it means to quit. And I think there's some people who are like, well, what about Black women? We get impacted the most.
I'll call you.
There'll
be a Zoom call.
I guess
that ain't work to me. That ain't work to me.
I guess
being
what I
in community
want
with us.
people to know is that when we say that, we're not talking about Black women.
No, I'm not sure completely. But I know I'm not going y'all not going to see me nowhere. I have no type of announcements. As someone who works professionally in DEI, that's my field, and they putting out DEI watch lists and with targets on them of folks who do the work, I have to really reassess how safe it is for me to continue on in this work, at least in the ways that I've always done it. Right now, I need to make sure I'm okay before I put both feet back into trying to fix y'all's organizations and make you all better. And to your point, I warned folks. There are people contact me now like, you were leap years ahead of us when you did the DEI funeral. How did you see it? How did you not see it coming? We tried to tell you all that this is where we were heading. And right now, I'm going to need y'all to do the heavy lifting.
I think it should be shit like, Crystal like to cook. Wouldn't y'all like to see a Crystal cooking show? I talk about joy. Nikisha can show you, this is how I stay sane in this house with these kids. Things that are also about the other things that we are and we do that keep us feeling human and connected. Cast not pearls before swine. That's where we are.
I hear
that's real.
Yeah, and I hear that. I understand what you're saying too, Thea. And I think that's one of my frustrations with the whole Target thing is like, we benefit the least from DEI, yet we're on the front lines of this fight. And I'm not saying I'm going to shop at Target, because I'm not going to shop at Target. Like I said, it just don't, in my spirit, I took the app off my phone. I was like, yeah, nah. And I know at the core of it is we fight for these things because we know at the core of all of these things is anti-blackness. But that's very frustrating to me that I feel like we're back at it again already. And I'm not even sure if we've really learned lessons.
We didn't. We haven't.
From the election, or even recalibrated, or even grieved. And here we are again. We're on the front lines. Like, who do you think is on those DEI target lists? Probably mostly Black women.
It is.
But this is the thing, Crystal. I think that, one, a lot of us are not on the front line. So it's taken a hit. Like, the folks I think who are on that front line, that has to do a lot with what their brand and their work is about. The other thing is just fucking simplify it. Don't shop there. I don't need to post about it. I don't need to be angry about it. I don't need to feel nothing. I just need to take my money somewhere else, down the street. That's it. It's easy. We can let it be easy. We see some fuckery, we go the opposite way of fuckery. We see some dumb shit, we just don't participate in the dumb shit. But having the ongoing dialogue, that's a part of the labor. How can we assess need yet? We're not there.
Yeah.
We haven't even sat in these bodies. Even those who were sitting, there was fire. There's stuff going on every day. No. We have to learn. We have to build a tolerance to watch and witness.
You said that, and you said that.
We have to build a tolerance for it.
Yeah. So that's sort of the space I'm in. I mean, I think it still will be my work. It will maybe look different, or I'll be much more discerning about where to show up, the spaces I will go into and who to have those conversations with, and working smarter, not harder in whatever this next iteration of America is.
Yeah.
For now, don't call me.
I don't know, Thea. I think Black women are on the front lines.
Again, it could be feed oriented, but the ones I'm following they're like, no, what they're on is you fucked around and you're finding out.
Yeah, they're like, no, y'all got it.
They're like in the watch. They're seeing that, and they're like, I don't see them jumping in.
When I say front lines of it, I mean like, who do we have an expectation to speak out?
So yeah, I think the expectation is not going to go away. The people are going to expect us to be at the front lines. How we show up at those front lines, though, has changed. Like even the woman from which was the one?
Meow?
Lip Bar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
She was like,
mm-hmm.
I don't know what y'all thought this was. She showed up authentically, clearly. She didn't perform. She's not exerting. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? And I think that is a different way of showing up than what we were doing before. And she was showing up to just talk to her own people. She wasn't showing up to talk to people who were not her people.
Yeah.
Those conversations were,
for her people.
For her folks.
Yes. Yeah, I guess I want the expectation to change. Like,
they're going to try to hold that over us for a long time.
Or that we change how we engage the expectation.
They're not going to release the mantle, but we're going to stop responding. It takes practice, though. It's not immediate. But little by little, they're going to start doing it more and more, and we're just going to get easier at sitting in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Our goal is different than their goal,
I just want the focus to shift from these Black women entrepreneurs to Target, you know? So yeah. But I hear you, Keish. I wish you a joyful journey. Okay. So that's all for our church announcements, praise reports, prayer lists, requests, and I guess maybe mini. I don't know. What do you call that when you have a dialogue in the church? Like church meeting? Do we have a church meeting?
That was a church meeting.
For the church meeting. So, again, don't just be watching us. Subscribe. Don't just listen to us. Subscribe. And you can do both. You can be subscribed as a listener, and you can be subscribed on YouTube as a watcher. Make sure you're signed up for our newsletter because, again, we're going to start to do events, and they're not going to be continuously posted on social media. You'll catch them in our Patreon, and you'll learn about them in our newsletter. Okay? Mm-hmm. So now let's slide into this cheesy mac and cheese. So this is our mac and cheese segment. And for our mac and cheese segment, we're going to talk about the LA fires, particularly the fires in Altadena. Thea is going to share her experience, the impact that the fire had on her. She was displaced during the fire, and we have one of our faves, Staci Mitchell. And Staci's been with us before. She also did some yoga classes with Dim Black Mamas, and she's going to talk about her experience. And Altadena has a very unique history and a very important history. And we often say that this podcast is an archive, so nobody ever has to wonder. Our ascendants 50, 100 years from now won't have to wonder what our experience was. They can look to this podcast. So I felt like it was very, very important that we document this. So we're going to read Staci's bio, and then we're going to jump into it and let her and Thea share their stories. Okay. The fierce, creative, with healing tendencies, Pan-African studies scholar, theater performance artist, born in LA and raised in Altadena, California. Her epistemology and pediological, am I saying that right? Focus balances on womanism and the complex of Black/woman identity and its performativity. Staci has performed on and written for the Los Angeles theater stage, been featured in independent film, on television, voiceover, and audiobook narration. Staci is an Ayurvedic yoga teacher, specializes in meditation. Let me tell you something about Staci's class. There's nothing like a yoga class with Staci.
My God.
And she comes and like corrects or like adjusts your stance. I mean, yeah. She approaches all of these practices with deep appreciation and acknowledgement of her African, spelled with a K, ancestors who helped shape the science. So welcome, Staci. Thanks for joining us. And thank you to you and Thea for being willing to share your stories. So I've changed the question that we usually ask a little bit. So my first question is, what did home mean to you 10 years ago? And what does it mean to you now?
Well, it's always wonderful to be in the presence of them Black mamas. Thank you for having me back in this space and seeing your beautiful faces and, you know, your spaces and all the work that you're doing, and continue to amplify and center Black mamas' voices and our wisdom and our knowledge and our experiences. 10 years ago, home, I think that was around the time that I started thinking about home being centered in the South with my mother and like going home. Around that time, I really started to realize that there's nothing like going home. There's nothing like going down South and being with family. Whether I see them, I don't see them that often. But when I'm there, I just feel this, you know, as they say, your shoulders melt, you know, you let your shoulders come down. Yeah. You know that you're in that space. And just the feel of the atmosphere on your skin and the greenery and the food and the accents and the acknowledgments, all of that, you know, it's home. Today, and I still believe that, but I'm grappling with this idea, especially now, that my house is incinerated. You know, I would tell my husband, like, you provide the structure, I build the home, right? You provide this space, I make it home. Everything that I see here, my plants, my artwork, the choice of colors, or every detail, right, that goes into shaping our spaces, like you've done, Crystal. This is what makes it home. And so now that all of that is gone, literally all of that is gone, you know, I'm feeling like home is definitely when we're together, my children, my husband, my grandchildren, that we have to contain it for now, because all of those are just expressions of what's happening on the inside. Manifestations and, you know, tokens and symbols that give us these visual reminders of who I am on the inside. So, and who we are, what I want us to feel when we're in that space. And two, you know, here I am in this hotel room, and then we're out running the streets, and I'm like, I'm ready to go home. So it's also the place, this is not my home. And I know that I have a home space, a burnt down house that is sitting on land that I see is my, you know what I'm saying? So it's becoming more complicated, even though I'm doing my best to still find that, you know, that center, but it's becoming, you know, where's the place where I can rest?
That's it.
Yeah.
I don't like this question. and I
you don't have to answer it.
No, I'm going to answer. I'm that's a part of my answer.
Okay.
Because it's tender. It's been tender though for me for a few years. 10 years ago, I thought I was starting a home. I thought I was starting a home 10 years ago. Since that time, I feel like I've lost multiple versions of home. This is the latest in a series, and I have a bit of a a bit of a antagonistic relationship with the word right now. I've had to leave structures and places that I, just like Staci said, that I had chosen everything and I had curated everything and I had loved everything. And I've had places that felt like rest or people that felt like rest that are no longer here. Right now, home feels a bit like, it feels elusive. It feels like a bit of an illusion for me. And I'm almost afraid to think, I'm almost afraid to conceptualize or surrender to another home or to surrender to another person or place that feels like home. 10 years ago, I was fully dedicated and committed and prepared to give everything to the creation of home. And now I feel like quite a nomad, quite a wanderer. And that is really not glamorous. That is a continuous dance with tangibility and intangibility. It's a continuous dance with grief and also like acceptance and attachment. You never know how attached to get.
Yeah.
Like how, you want to put everything into a thing, but then nature reminds you, life reminds you, people remind you that it's not forever. And so it's a scary dance between how attached do I get, how invested do I get, how much of this feeling of home do I allow myself to explore and engage and fall into before I like deeply fear the recovery process of when I have to let it go again.
I watched the fires on television. When I saw it, it looked just unreal, especially to see places that you've been. So I lived in LA for 8 years. Nikisha, you lived in LA for what, 5? No, because y'all lived in LA twice. So
twice, yeah. 4 and then 3, I think, later, yeah.
It looked unreal. And there was a distance, because I'm not there. There's a distance of the screen. And then it hits you like, oh, wait, I know people there. And so I wonder for you all, if we can go back to like when the fires first broke out, what was I don't know, it seems kind of trite to ask what the feeling was, but because there are fires in LA often. There's like a fire season.
Because I'm born and raised in Altadena, right? I grew up there where I'm very accustomed to seeing those mountains on fire. I've had insurance settlements with like ash that comes from the fire and it coats our cars and it clogs our pool system. We've had to have, insurance adjusters come out and like test the layers of ash on the windowsills and on your, furniture and replace the entire filtration system for the pool. It wasn't unfamiliar. I'll just say that there was never any fear until it was done.
That's
until
right.
It was done. So that night on the 7th, this happened the 7th, and I know this because this was my son, EK. EK. It was his season opener. And the power had gone out. They turned off our power. Okay, because of the high winds. So we were having these enormous winds. Again, these are two separate things that we are accustomed to having. Really high winds that knock out the power or knock down trees or knock down this or knock down or destroy, right? And then we're also accustomed to having fires in the mountains. Never had they come together like this.
Yeah. This is right.
And so we had lost power. I went to the gym that afternoon and I got home and the power was out. And I was like, dang, now I got to take a cold shower. So I built a fire, ironically. I built a fire and I go and take my shower and I come downstairs and I'm sitting in front of the fire, oiling the body. And And then my husband comes in and, he goes and gets his truck. He goes and gets 2 generators. Again, this is very common for us to lose power. So he goes and gets his generators and brings them back so that our food doesn't go bad, right? Really just to give us minimal light. And so anyhow, we go to the game. We go out and of course it's super windy. It's incredibly windy. We're kind of creeping along Altadena Drive. And as soon as we get up into Altadena on Altadena Drive, I see this rosy glow in the sky. And we go, oh, there's a fire over there, right? And so my husband goes, well, they're not going to let us go this way. And he'll always like to take side streets. I said, no, well, let's just keep going until they divert us off the street. So we keep going. And then I see it. I see on the mountain, I see a tower. I see this tower and I see the fire like coming down the mountain. Like here's the tower and it's coming down the side of the mountain and the winds are like whipping it. So imagine when you light a piece of paper or that's the image that I have, lighting a piece of paper and you kind of blowing on it and you see that orange glow kind of pick up. That's what I saw. So here's where I'm fussing because over here on the west side of town, West Altadena, okay, so when you hear about Black folks, this is our side of town, okay? So on the west side, we don't have no power. As I'm moving east, I notice that their power is on. And then I go, now see, they got us over here in the dark because of this, of the risk of fire. But over here on the west side, I see that obviously that tower ain't cut off because now look, it's a fire on this mountain, but these white folks got power over here. I'm fussing on video as we're driving past. Now at this time, I don't know that this fire has really just begun. So now the police cars are like flying past us, and I see, the fire camp, the young men in the jumpsuits. They're starting to just pull up. It had just begun, so it was about 6:30. It was about 6:30, 6:40.
That's
it
right.
Just started. So when I get to the school, we walk in, and it's kind of surreal because this basketball game is happening, and it's not that far from the apex of this fire. It was a little eerie, and I'm kind of looking around and I'm like, they haven't called the game. I'm kind of surprised they didn't cancel it. And, and it's the middle of the first quarter. By the end of the first quarter, which my son was balling, by the way, I got to just shout him out. At the end of that first quarter,
you're not gonna lose that.
They go, everybody out. Everybody. And it wasn't like, go to the back, get your shit. No, it was like, everybody evacuate the school. So we walk outside and again, this winds are like whipping it. I don't know if people have a concept of like the winds. I'll put it to you like this. My sister came to that game. She opened the back door to get my mom out so that my mom, who is an elder, could be close to the entrance and walk her up the stairs. And then she was going to go park. So she opened the back door to let her son out. The wind whipped her jacket out of the car and she never found it. Like it just took it. She was like, I lost the jacket at that game. She said, I looked for it. I searched for it. It was gone. Like it was intense, like moving your body kind of.
Wow.
I have plants that were, Thea, you've been in my house. The backyard, my monsteras that have the thick,
the deep rooting too. Those monsteras are thick.
Deep rooting. That the winds had already come through that day and snapped every single frond off the tree. So I knew that it was like, these are really intense winds. Okay. So we're headed home. I know I don't have any power. And my husband's like, I'm going to go get some food. I jump in the car with my son and we're just kind of creeping along and we're still seeing it. Again, the fire is still up here on the mountain. Yeah. A lot of smoke is in the air. We smell it. We get home, ironically enough, I had a Zoom meeting that night. I won't go down that road because people who weren't in Altadena, as I'm like, listen, it is popping off out here. They're like, So anyway, 100%. And I'm like, you talk about that distance, right? And it was a family meeting, but they just didn't have a concept yet. And to be fair, neither did I.
We couldn't. Even if you lived here, you didn't have that concept for that particular.
Not yet. Not yet. So anyhow, we went home, did the meeting, I had plugged into the generator. I sat down, we ate a burrito, sat in front of the fire, and then I went to bed, went upstairs to bed. So my son, EK, was our sentry that night. Like, he downloaded the app first. He was like tracking the fire and tracking things. And every hour he was running upstairs and looking out of our window, because we had that mountain view to kind of see what was happening with the fires. And so he would get up there and kind of look. But on the app, he later told me that it was like, it went from like, you're okay, it's not an issue, to get out right now. Like, it was just
like
no
that quick?
in between.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Like the status changed really quickly. Like 1 minute it was, you're okay, just be on standby. So if you think about it, like green, yellow, red, it went from green to red. Skip right
Those
over
fires, those winds is what they didn't account for.
I went to sleep around 11:30 that night. I'm looking out my window as well, and I can see through the neighbor's tree. I can see over there and up there on the mountains. I see the fire. I see the fires in the mountains. And then I go to sleep. And then at 3:30, 3:40, some weird hour in the morning, everybody's phone in the house goes off, right? That alarm.
Yeah, that alarm.
Went off, and it's like, evacuate. And when I wake up, my throat is tight, my eyes are burning, my nose is burning, and I look out the window and I can't see shit. Like, I went from being able to see the mountains, and now it's 4 hours later, I can't see anything. So my husband, he has to go get his mom. I'm packing up, I'm just grabbing some things. Now, ironically, earlier in that day, I think when I got home from the basketball game, or right before I went to the basketball game, I took my little leather tote and I threw some things in there that I was like, well, if I have to evacuate, I'm not going to be thinking about these things later, right? And like some perfumes that my husband brought me from Mexico City, a watch case that has all of the gold that I own, like all my gold is in there, like my gold chains from when I was in high school, like all those broken, all that is in this one case. And some body oils. And so that was already kind of like ready to go. And then I just grabbed my two favorite, my two favorite sweatsuits. It's the middle of the night. I was like, I just need to be comfortable. I don't know where we're going, if we're going to be in an evacuation center, if we're going to be at a hotel. Let me get some blankets, because we're going to need blankets. Let me get some towels, and because we're going to need towels. And, our cords, our phones, and my watch. And the jewelry that I'm wearing now, right? That's it. And we left. So we're calling my older son, who lives down in Pasadena, and he's not answering because it's the middle of the night, and he's in Pasadena. Again, he's already a world away. He is a world away from all of this. And we finally get him on the phone about 5 minutes before we pull up. It's myself, my husband, my teenage son, and my mother-in-law. And finally my son gets him on the phone, and I'm like, I don't want us to pull up in the middle of the night on him like we're refugees from this fire. So we get him on the phone, and he's still kind of like, and this is my sleepwalker, right? So he's kind of like, what? He's 30 now, but he's just kind of like, what is
he 30?
That can't be right.
Okay.
And thank God he had his own apartment. That's all I was saying, right? So we stay there. We go there. So now it's about 5 a.m. And then my husband, as soon as we get there and we get situated, he goes, because mind you, when we leave, like smoke and ash is in the air. So shit is getting in our eyes. I had to put on like my shades at night because it's blowing. But I don't see any fire.
Just smoke and ash.
I don't see any fire yet. It's just smoke and ash. And I'm like, wow, again, it still had not occurred to me that I was leaving my home for the last time. It never, it was not, I was not there.
Yeah.
We did not know that. So once we get settled, my husband goes, I'm going back to the house. I'm going to go get my van. He has a Sprinter van that he uses for work. He said, I'm going to go get my van. So he takes my teenage son. They go up there, and he almost left his van on the road. He had to drive through fire. So he can't go across Ventura. And then he's trying to get up the little side street that leads to our house. And the house is on the corner on fire. The house in the corner is on fire. And he was like, man, fuck that Sprinter. Like, I got to get me and my son out of here. But EK goes, Baba, let's just go get the car. So he said he drove through fire. And I have some footage that EK took of like the embers flying through the air at this point. So by the time they do that, get back down to us, he basically says, our block is on fire. And then his mother goes, well, I need to get my box of papers. It's on top of my refrigerator, the brown box. I need my papers. So let's all go and see if we can get into the house.
Because the elders, they have boxes of papers.
Of course.
Elders have boxes of papers. They do.
None of it is digital. It is, I need that brown box. It has
all
everything.
My very important papers.
With all my very important papers. And so by this time, Mazia is kind of like, he's already been there, but we haven't seen it yet. So we don't know. So we get in the car, we drive back up there again. Now, these drives are, 2 or 3 miles,
Okay.
but it at the most, right? But it feels like an eternity.
For people who don't know, Pasadena and Altadena are next to each other.
And he lives just down in downtown, and then we're kind of almost at the base of the mountains. So, and now I'm seeing the city on fire. I'm seeing as we cross Woodbury, as we get to Washington. Now I see as we get to Woodbury, I'm like, the church is on fire. The building is on fire. That house is on fire. That big house behind the park, it's like a big plantation house. That whole thing is an inferno. It's on fire. Like, shit is on fire. And now I'm seeing, oh gosh, right? So let me just see if I can we get to our house? And we just kept getting stopped by the smoke, the fire, the ash. It was like, nope, back it up. Let's go this way. We go this way. Fire, ash, embers, stop, back it up, because you can't see. It just envelops you and you realize, oh shit, my life is on the line. Shit. No, this is the moment right here where people's tires melt and they burn up in their cars. You're not finna be her. We're not finna do that. You're not getting home. And God willing, your house will still be standing, but you ain't getting home. And we didn't get home. So we got back out of there, drove back down to Pasadena, hung out, and we tried to get back a few times, right? Because, and I don't know, it's like, is our house on fire? Is our house on fire? Is my house still standing? Have the fires, have they moved on? Have they put them out? Is it still happening? I couldn't rest. We don't know what's happening. We don't know what the state of it is, but we can see that a lot of stuff is on fire. And we don't even know the extent. We don't even know the extent of what else is really happening in Altadena yet. And so finally at 3:47, which is the video that I posted that afternoon, we managed to find a way up Glen Rose, the opposite side, to get to our block. And then I see. And when I hear that video, I go, wow, the only words I had were, oh my God. I didn't realize, but every single one of those was a sight. That house, my neighbor's house, every single one was, and that was all that was coming out of me. And I got a certain angle where I could see there's nothing left of my house but the facade. And that front part is still standing, but the back, like all the way back to the pool, just ash. I was awestruck. It was, I want to say, not awesome in like a good way.
No, I know what you mean. Awestruck. Yes.
And that's when we knew. And our house, the edges are still burning. And my neighbor's house had just started burning. So her house looks exactly the same, but out of the top, it's like a bouquet, like a bouquet, like fire coming out of the top of her home. Then we bought that house in 1999. Yeah, we went up there with our 2-year-old and our 2-year-old and our 4-year-old, and made it ours over the years. You buy a house, it had a pool, it had a yard, it had all the things we wanted, a street with kids on it, a street off of the main street, a place we knew that they could ride their bikes and ride their skates and play outside and grow up with kids. And we've done different remodels. We've added on, we've expanded. We've done all the things that you do when you're in a house for 26 years. And it was just, I was, you talk about home. It was like I was like, ooh, we're getting to that little,
It starts to fit. It starts to fit. Yeah.
So that's how the night went. That's our house. And that's 119, what we call Twin Palms. These giant palm trees that grow in the front of our house. Them bad boys were bending like, they were like, the wind had them like, I was like, are they gonna finally snap, and break? They did not, though. They're still standing. And in fact, my whole landscape in the front of the house is unscathed. It was all drought tolerant plants and all things that I had planted. I planted sage, I planted rosemary, I planted thyme, I had 3 types of sage. Our lemon tree, all of that is still there. So I'm thankful today for the possibility of rain so that those things will sustain. We want to have something, anything, anything, when we get back there, that we're not starting completely from, ground zero. It looks like ground zero there now. But the plants, they're just out there.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time I'm talking about this publicly, period. But also, I haven't lived in my Altadena home directly in about almost 2 years. But my children do. So my relationship with that house in particular, there was like a grieving, shedding thing that was happening. Like maybe 2 months before the fires, we rent that space. The insurance came out from the owner and said, we have to cut all this shrubbery. The things that I loved, like the wisteria, the Bulin, you know what I'm talking about, Staci, the one that yes, that was covering it made the house look like a little cottage. It was just so lovely. They cut it all. We came home one day, they just had massacred it. But they said they were cutting it for insurance purposes, right? They were cutting it because of fire. Maybe like a week or so before that, something else happened, but I was like, this house seems to be shedding somehow. And I don't know why. Those winds that Staci's talking about, I knew this is going to be big. And I was playing board games with my daughters. And this was about the timeline you were saying, Staci. And I think, Staci, tell me if I'm wrong. I think it started closer to my end of the woods, the fire. The timeline she had about getting out, I had to be out much sooner. It was already raging over by me.
And before that, Thea, did you think, like Staci said, fires all the time?
We didn't even notice fire when we were playing board games. We didn't smell no smoke. We didn't smell no ash. This was like about 5. And I remember, because you know what Carmela's is, Staci, the ice cream spot. I was with me by Carmela's. I was giving my daughter my car so that I could go chill and her and her girlfriend could be out. We played board games. We had Carmela's. I'm home. I'm in Highland Park at my little studio. Not even 2 hours later, not even, maybe an hour and a half. Mom, the mountain's on fire. Now, we have been there maybe 10 years. So Staci has that history. But in our time, there's been little fires and there's been high winds, like Staci said, but we've never seen anything like that. You did think about it being in the white areas. I'm not going to lie. When I would think these things, fires and mudslides, I'd be like, I mean,
what you doing up there?
I said, it don't make it to the hood. I'm like, it don't make it to the hood.
That's what black people would say. Why you building a house inside of the mountain? Yeah, you gonna get a mudslide.
We would be like, it don't make it to the hood. No, that just wasn't our business. So she calls me, and I've raised 3 teenage girls, so I'm like, pause. Is the mountain on fire? Like, show me picture, And Talani's like, I'm not kidding. Then we get those evacuation notices, that buzzing that Staci's talking about. And I'm like, oh, shit, like, we gotta go. They're grabbing stuff there. I'm here, like, okay, some of you come here and then some go straight to my mom's. We're gonna break it up for the night, settle down. But I immediately went and did an offering to Oya. And I prayed over Staci's family. I prayed over all my people that were up there. In fact, Staci and I were texting through that night, Deetra, Nikki High of Octavia's Bookshelf. I was like, where are my people? Is everybody out? Because I know also we're used to certain things. It's like people who live around hurricanes kind of thing.
Right. And we don't go, generally.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but when she said that, the mountain's on fire, and she showed me the video, and like you said, I could see the embers, and I could see the darkness, like the pitch blackness. I was like, oh no, this is real and this is bad. So we're in Highland Park, which is about a good, I'm not good with miles. LA people, we tell things by time. Without traffic, I'm going to explain this to y'all. Without traffic, it's about 12 minutes from Altadena to Highland Park. We get a second notice. And that's when I really knew this shit was out of control because it wasn't contained. So I'm like, oh God, we got to leave. We're this far away from here and we got to evacuate. And I go outside and you smell nothing but smoke and ash and it's miles away. Mind you, the other thing people don't understand is we were sandwiched. The Palisades fire is on one end of the 110 and then Pasadena, Altadena is on this other side. So literally, the bookends of this city
it had the potential
to close in. To close in. It had the potential to burn all the way into the middle.
Yeah.
And that's what made it like really, really intense. Like where would you go but the ocean? And even by the ocean was on fire. Let me say this. I personally, them firefighters, them people working, I didn't do no social media because I was like, nobody knows what they're talking about. These people are working. How do you do this? There is no preparation for this. For any government, any fire department, this is a nightmare. For any hospital, any doctors, this is a nightmare. And with your best preparation, you have no idea. There were firemen sleeping on water hoses. They were losing. Yes. And not only were they losing, but they could have lost the entire city.
Yeah.
That was not, that is not metaphor because those winds kept going. And an ember could go from here to there to there. Like embers were just flying across and anything could start. There's a lot of brush. We hadn't had any rain. There was just all the things. And you really did sit under the threat for a week, right, Staci? At least a week.
Yeah.
The threat. We were all on Watch Duty app. Like, where is it now? It was zero containment a week later. Understand, zero containment a week after that fire. These firefighters still could not say, we have it contained.
Right.
And that's a nightmare, right? I don't think we have yet and will have yet processed the neurological impact of, it wasn't a one and done. It was over a week. And also, like, even if you thought your stuff was safe right now, will it stay safe? Is it going to be safe? When you do get going there, the power lines were down, the water lines were down, the gas was down. The winds had knocked down all these trees, all this brush. Things were, like, unrecognizable. Staci and I had breakfast, had a lunch or something at Fox's. That's gone. Rhythms of the Village, that's gone. Like, it was just so many touch points that were gone. I don't think I've come down. My nervous system has come down from that yet because the displacement that follows that and the moving, and people mean well, but you're being inundated with information and you're being asked for answers that you can't even conceptualize yet. Like your mind isn't there. I don't think we're breathing yet. And it'll be a minute because can you imagine trying to focus and do like claims and paperwork and take in information and do this and file for this all while grieving and in this state? Like it's a kind of ridiculous ask. And the sad part about it is what we know is people have short memory. So they'll expect these people and they'll expect us to be able to function within like a month. I say to people, oh, no, I had to evacuate the fire. So I'm still in that. Yeah. And I need to be handled like I'm still in that. If I'm at a bank, if I'm at DMV, I don't care. I still need to be handled like that is still a real thing for me and people I care about.
Yeah, I think one of the first messages you put in our group chat was that it looks like a war zone. And that particular language just really hit. I watch everything ingest all the news, but I hadn't seen that language or couldn't yet appreciate how devastated the area was. And when you use the term war zone. I know you're not hyperbolic in that way. I know you meant it. And so I can understand that this is lasting trauma. Mm-hmm. This is deep wounding.
The fact of the matter is that all of us, Altadena is in the process of, and I know it's getting a lot of attention for it being kind of this place where there's a lot of Black families, but it's also being crazy gentrified, right? So all of us are leaving. All of us lost our homes. It is affecting us differently, and especially now here. You know, one of the things that I know I'm going to be writing about and talking about is now that we're here, you know, and we're looking for now a place to stay. I'm in a hotel room. I'm not finna live in a hotel room for 2 years.
No.
I need a house.
Yeah.
And so we have these neighboring communities that are all Asian. They are all they are all Armenian or Middle Eastern, right? So you have this or Arabian or non-Black, right? And they have these areas that they have created and preserved for themselves in the San Gabriel Valley, you know, which is to the south and the east of us, and then you go west to Glendale, and then you go south and you got the Latinos, and it's like y'all gonna have to make room. All these Black folks who had homes, we had homes. I'm not finna go be in a little 1-bedroom apartment. My insurance is providing for me that we had a 4-bedroom home. I'll settle for 3. I'll settle for 2, but it's going to be a home. And there are plenty of homes here. And now what we're dealing with is going into communities and them acting shady. Bottom line, just being racist against us feeling uncomfortable. Like, oh, we can't have this house. We can't live in this neighborhood. We pulled up in one house and this woman, you know, we're trying to ask her, is this your house? And she was like, you know, my English little. She didn't even want to try to talk, you know, to us. And so it's like now we're going out every day trying to find a place to live. And we're back like auditioning every day for a place to live. And that puts us in a state because it's like we had a home. And to be quite honest, our shit was better than this. And y'all are charging $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 for this place. And this idea that because you have nothing, you should be happy with anything.
100%. That's right,
like,
Staci. We're not doing that.
We're not doing that. And I'm not doing that. I know what I'm looking for. But I also know that if this community is is going to be hostile towards us, that I don't really want to be there. But at the same time, I'm like, we need to go break that shit up because listen, Black folks have made it possible for you to even have this type of space. Yeah. This is all on the backs of us. And now you want to turn your nose up at us.
Pause for the cause. This is all on the backs of us. All of it.
And here we are again.
And some of y'all voted. If I could just throw that.
That's your boy.
Some of y'all voted like it wasn't all on the backs of us.
Staci, you talked about Altadena and Black families living there and it getting a lot of attention now because I know you were raised there. I know you got a lot of Altadena pride. And can you just give us a little bit of the history of that community?
It's only been the kind of the media coverage that has made me think about Altadena as being like a historically Black place, right? No more than, you know, Crenshaw District or Baldwin Hills or Ladera Heights. Like there are lots of places in LA where Black folks have been a long time, right? I hadn't put it into that context until I had to start thinking about like the loss, essentially. Where my mother-in-law lived, she inherited that house from her aunt. And so here it is, her aunt, my mother-in-law, my husband, my daughter, our granddaughter. That's 5 generations of us. I had started thinking about us when I sit with my mother and my daughter and my granddaughter, and this the 4 of us in the picture frame, and I go, gosh, I never had this. Like my grandbaby is so fortunate. She has her grandmother and she has her great grandmother, and she's still like I didn't have that. All of my grandparents had deceased by the time I was 13, and that one, she was the last one for many, many years. Like they had died when I was like 2, when I was 1, or before I was born, essentially. So I was just I'm feeling so grateful for that, for us to, you know, again, like to position our wellness, for us to to prioritize taking care of ourselves, for me to try to take care of my mother and to keep us around, right? Because we need that. So I had started to really start to appreciate that in terms of my granddaughter. I also know that like our house where we lived, I've always lived in Altadena, except for the time that I went down south to go to school. So that house, all of my neighbors, my whole block, we were all Black and brown, right? And then we went through a moment with the Black flight, where all the Black folks started to move out to Palmdale and Lancaster and San Bernardino and, Fontana, where they sold their homes. First, it was the white flight as the Black folks moved in. Then the Black folks moved out and took that money. And then they couldn't get back in because the property values were so high. It became very, very hard for Black folks to buy homes. So I've lived through all of those phases, and then looking up and being like, where are all the Black folks? They're gone when my children were young. And then as my children start to grow, I see, the high school where I went, which was predominantly Black, now become predominantly Latino or Latinx. And I say, okay, I can't be mad at that, and I'm not mad at that. We're in Mexico. Let's keep it 100. But where's the Black folks at? So now we are, watching these fluctuations, and now we watch the gentrification. Now here comes the white folks. And then after that, when I saw an young Asian American woman pushing her stroller down my street and walking her dog, I said,
this is it.
There it is.
Was it at dusk? Because when you see him, the sun going down, real talk, when you see a white person or a white passing person in what used to be a predominantly Black neighborhood, walking a dog, walking a baby at dusk, no, the 10-year plan is about to be implemented.
Implemented. But here's the thing. Through it all, there are families, there are all of us who've been there. So on that corner where the yoga studio was, they were like, I was thinking it was being gentrified. Here's a yoga studio. I was like, it ain't been gentrified. I've been here my entire life, and this is my yoga studio. Right. I'm like, y'all just got here. I've been here, right? I grew up on this corner, right? And in fact, this corner used to be hot. Like, wouldn't no cop, like, you better protect your neck. This corner used to be hot, So, and us going into spaces and even sitting at Fox's or sitting at the coffee shops or sitting places and you walk in and it's all these white folks looking at you like, where you come from? And I'm looking right back at you like, where you come from? And so, but there are always us who've had the stronghold, and so when I go into those spaces and I'm getting those looks and I'm giving them back, and then I see my sister who I've known my whole life, or somebody like Thea who come from LA, or you who came from down south, Black folks who came, and we look and we know, and we share the look. Here they go, right? But here we are, and here we are, right? We ain't going nowhere.
I grew up in South LA, so the Black community out there, like you were saying, Ladera, Baldwin, Windsor Hills, Lamert. I moved from Lamert to the Altadena area because Lamert was being gentrified. That's why I chose to be closer to that area, because I wanted to go where another Black space was. But also, as a kid, my godfather was a big coach. His name was Charles Evans. When you're a kid in LA, first of all, everything's far. We don't even fuck with the valley like that. Let's not even go there. But that 110 drive felt long. 110 is like the oldest freeway in the country, I believe.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know
but it's like very, you can tell it's not a highway. It's not a express. It's like it's narrow at certain points.
Yes.
And you're going through. So going to my godfather's house was like going out to the country for us, city girls, and because Altadena was known to be like, it felt like the country. It felt like you had a lot of space. You could run.
Of trees.
There was a lot of
they had trees.
So to me, it was the equivalent to like going out to the country. So when we were going to Uncle Chuck's, we knew we was going to be there all day. Because first of all, that was a long ride to us, and second of all, we were going to chill, and he had all this space. It was space in LA. Things were, the space is compact, especially the access to nature and things like that. Even in your good areas, right? That you don't have access like that. So it was always exciting to be going to Altadena. Like that was like our sister city. We knew that out there it was going to be trees. You could turn into like little, kids, like real kids out playing and stuff. Not city kid play. City kid play is a little different. And so when I was thinking, where do I want to go? And I'm not feeling safe in Lamert. Lamert is being gentrified. The next safest place I could think about was Altadena. So for me, I don't think I thought about it politically or historically, but just intuitively, I knew that the next place had to be there, that refuge.
So when Staci and I met when I was in grad school at Cal State LA, and I remember you saying you lived in Altadena. I was like, oh, where's that? You're like, oh, it's, near Pasadena. But you never said anything about the community. But I think I knew you lived in a Black community. I don't know how, but I was like, she lived around Black people. But when I moved to Pasadena, I went to Altadena for something, and I started looking around, and I was like, oh, it's a lot of Black people here. It's a lot because I lived off
incense.
I lived
get Blue Magic hair supplies.
I lived off of Los Robles. Was it Los Robles? Yeah. And so I was like, wait a minute. So I mean, I don't know. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. But you know when you in a Black community. You just know when you're in a Black community.
You feel it.
And you feel it. And so I just found it interesting that you say you never thought about it as historically Black, but I knew it wasn't new Black. I mean, I've been around new Black.
Yeah.
Right. I was like, they've been here for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I always saw it like that. And there was such pride in John Meade. Like, that was just the pride was
they go
incredible.
Dina goes up.
Yeah.
Dina goes up.
Yeah.
Don't let them high schools start playing.
Yeah.
They claim the high schools like you claim a set.
Yeah.
We had a game last night. We had a game last night. The Mirror PHS game.
They claim them high schools like you claim a set. It's like that like Dorsey, Westchester. But they can be graduated 50 years ago. They still claim
50 years ago.
Yeah.
Especially, period. Especially the Stangs. Especially Mirror, where I went, where I'm from, where all the Black folks was at or wanted to be.
But I
you see the shade?
I love it though because I felt like I knew about Ladera, I knew about Ladera, I knew about Lamert, but I felt like, oh, this is like a little hidden gem. And for me, like, if I ever, like, for me, that was the goal. Like, that's where I wanted to live if I would have stayed in LA, or if I ever moved back. That is the place I was always like, I want to live there, because it is kind of the one that people didn't talk about. But I felt like everybody who was from LA knew what it was.
And it's, I think too, because like my parents weren't from California too. And all of my friends' parents were like, they were from Louisiana, they were from Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas. I felt like I was the first generation of most of the people that we knew. Like, our parents were from the South.
Okay.
Because there was just, it all started at a time. Right?
Yeah.
And all kind of, it doesn't all, if it was your great aunt, if it was your grandmother, if it was your mother, there was an era where we all kind of moved there, because before then we couldn't get there.
Right.
And Altadena is not that incredibly old anyway. So I think that was a part of it. Like, we haven't been here that long. And I know Pasadena families, Black Pasadena families that have been there, say, one generation deeper than we were, that were there from the very, very, very beginning and who've never left. And then too, it's like, I think since we're in it and we're kind of in the middle of it. It's definitely made me, I've never wanted to live anywhere. If I left Altadena, I'd have to go down south.
Right? I was about to say that would be it.
I have to go down south, and I spend time. I go down south. I go to Mississippi, once or twice a year. I have property there. I have land there. We have family land. My mother's
that's good land.
Fertile.
That's
beautiful
good land in Mississippi.
I got a beautiful land in Mississippi, and I'm like, do we need to go drop a trailer up on that right now?
Rich soil, yeah.
So, but I am beginning to, especially now, like going through this and, really looking around and seeing. Now, and I won't say that I took it for granted, because I've never taken my community for granted, and I've worked in my community. But I do think that it is special. And I don't know how many other places in Southern California can say that,
As mothers, Black mothers, we're often the keepers of culture and we're often the caretakers. So when something like this happens, what is it like to mother through displacement?
So I'm in Long Beach, and my son is a senior in high school. This is his second semester in high school.
Oh, wow.
And he's in the middle of his basketball season and, all of those things. And so this is a FEMA situation where we are right now, and for me, which I wrote about a little bit briefly, it's like, this was the closest spot that actually had a little kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So I could feed myself and my husband as much as we can because we're not here a lot. Our son, our 17-year-old is living with our 30-year-old in Pasadena. And, they're brothers. They're okay together.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm on the parent kind of group chat for the team. And they're like, how did your sons feel about going back to school today? And he didn't really want to go. And they're like, and I'm like, I talked to him. We saw him for dinner the other night or but I'm not there with him. He's not with us.
Yeah.
And this is still very fresh for him. And so we're really diligently working to find a place where we can all be back together. Like he needs to be with us. Like his brother is wonderful. I'm so thankful for Jelani, but he's a 30-year-old single man,
Yeah.
And EK as a teenager, these are these COVID kids. He spent his entire junior high school online like this, right? And then had a drive-through graduation for 8th grade. And then in his senior year, all his house burns down and all of his shit in it. And then, being a parent, like our children left us with their most valuable things. Like, I'm just going to leave that here, mommy. Like, I want this to stay because I know it'll be safe. And all that is gone. Our 30-year-old, he kind of told us, he was like, you know what? I realized EK don't have no clothes. So people have been giving us so many things, right? And I only have a capacity for so much. First of all, I don't like a lot of excess anyway. But when it comes to my clothes, first of all, I'm not going to wear everything. Okay. So a lot of stuff has been coming and I'm thinking, his brother's giving him stuff. His brother's friends have dropped off new clothes, old clothes, but they're not things that we pick out ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
And I went shopping for him. I just did a big haul and just like, we just get him some gear. I got to start replacing and like, not even replacing, but filling in those gaps. And we had dinner with him last night after his game, and we just keep assuring him, we want you with us. And I know you're okay with your brother. We checking in with him and we're doing everything we can to get us a house and get us someplace where we can be.
Yeah.
And we can be for the next couple of years while we rebuild, right? So it's been challenging, but EK has always been very independent, super responsible. Like I don't have to come behind him. He is a self, like my good friend Philip says, like a self-running machine, self-oiling machine. He just handles his business. But he's still 17 years old. And he's feeling this on another level and on top of everything else that most people never experience in their entire lifetimes. He's experienced too, and in his very short life. So we just try to hug him up, keep him talking, keep him communicating. And then our older children are missing, they're kind of like concerned about us, but like missing that home
space, of course,
like where they grew up and all of that. And so, like I said earlier, still, like you said, Thea, too, it's still kind of like out there in the stratosphere.
It's very
like
nebulous.
Pulling all of those threads back together.
So if there is a home, it's my mama. And we were mostly at her house. And, if you have a mama's house you can go to, it's like you almost can feel like you don't miss a step. They're going to make sure that you feel like, food is done. Like my kids was up in there and it was almost insulated from the aftermath of a lot of the things, which I had to break up every now and then because I do think it's important for them to understand the severity and the fragility of the moment. So sometimes I would break it up and I'd be like, this love fest has got to end. Grandma is nice and we're going through something and you need to feel some of this too. And I observed more than I intervened this time. I wanted to see how they responded to it. You know, I wanted to see what it did for their spiritual practice. I wanted to see if they would enact the joy principles that I put before them. So I got to see some of that take root. What they learned is that joy is an aspect of grieving. It's an important, and so is creativity. And that grief is an opportunity.
It is what it is. No, I mean, it's just
pick up our little dog Few and let the world see
he's
him.
a part of the podcast now. It is what it is.
And he will be happy.
That grief is a birthplace of creativity. They want to cook things that felt like home. Okay, he's being ignorant now. Come here, Remy. This is too much. Come on. So basically what I'm saying is that there was important things in the fragility of things. I needed to see their resilience. I needed to see how they piece things back together. As a Black woman, I've had to die and live and die and live and die and live and birth and rebirth and rebirth. I've had to do it so many times that it's going to have to be a part of their makeup. You know what I'm saying? And it was important for me to know when to step in and tell my mom, like, this can't be like a resort. You know, they've got to pick up something, do something. Something has happened as a collective. Something has happened to us. What can they do? What can they offer? How can they give? How can they create? And things like that. And something you said, Staci, when people would ask me what I needed, I kept saying to work. Because what I didn't want is people to fall into this moment and feel like I should just take whatever I'm given and be grateful for it. I wanted people to have a joy consciousness that said, whatever I'm imagining next better be the next level of what I want from this moment forward. It needs to be rooted in who I am and where I am now. I need to be very clear about who I am and what I want now. And I loved hearing Staci say, and so I need my house to have bop, 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 as opposed to people trying to make folks feel like, well, you should be great. No, I mean, no. Things happen all over the world, all the time, every day. That has nothing to do with like sacrificing joy, sacrificing what you want, sacrificing desire, In fact, that's the time when you absolutely shouldn't do that. So it was finding that balance with my daughters of, this is not the time to like turn against what you want, sacrifice it, but it's also a time to be aware of the fragility of life, of building, all these things. It's a really delicate thing to do while still like yourself carrying the grief and carrying the what ifness of it all.
You talked about something collective happened, and Staci's talked about her community. The community is physically fractured for a number of reasons. Like you all talked about places that you ate, or, you know, neighbors in the community, their houses burning and people like living in different places. Is the community still connected in other ways? Or has it changed throughout the time?
You know, I took all of 2024 off of social media. I wasn't on. And then I saw that fire that night and I knew this is important. And I posted that. And then I kind of documented that. And then I could feel the community kind of, what is your experience? What is your experience? What is your experience? So physically, we are like, we're fractured. So where is that collective space that we are kind of meeting up and supporting one another? At least for the first couple of weeks, it was on social media. And in the places where we were standing in line. And in at the disaster relief center where I was yesterday, where I ran into my homegirl from middle school, and I ran into another homegirl from high school, and ran into another homegirl who I've known, you know, from around the way from my initial block. And I was like, I ain't gonna be able to get out of here without seeing, you know, everybody I know. There were a couple of like get-togethers, like in the park, that certain pockets did, and it was like, oh, you know, we're gonna just hang out. I think that, you know, at the basketball game last night, it was a good turnout, but that gym, you usually can't get into that gym on that night. But so many people in Altadena aren't living in Altadena. And if my son wasn't playing, I would not have been there at that game. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have drove from wherever I am to go to this high school game tonight in the drizzle. You know, I would have stayed at home. But typically that gym is packed. Like, you literally have to get there early at the beginning of the girls' game just to get a seat. And it wasn't that last night. So I'm seeing the impact. I'm not sure exactly where we are outside of like cyberspace.
Mm-hmm.
And I know us, and I know we're going to get there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but I'm not sure that, you know, that we are just yet.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the answer is I don't know. Like, you know, things have changed, literally. And the first thing that happens, I think, after something like this, after you do trauma care, is orientation. Like, we're reorienting. Community is a collective of homes. Even if home is not a place, it's still a connection of like that defined core that Staci was like talking about. And people are individually and then within their own families rebuilding a core. And I don't know how you would have community quite yet. You're still in surgery. Also, I will say, to have all this happen right when this food takes office is really also another very bizarre. Like, we can point to a fire. We can point to a fire and be like, this fire happened to us. And also everything's on fire. So there's like this feeling of like nobody's escaping fire right now, right? Like even if I wanted to like step out of that to feel a sense of like some type of security or connection, or I'm like, oh, it's fire to the left, it's fire to the fucking right.
It's wild out here. It's wild out here.
Fire. It's fire. So I don't even know if it's wise to come out of my fire mindset yet. Right now, there's something in that could save me over the course of these next 4 years. Going through that in such a tangible way, you know, the rest of the country is like slowly, like what's happening? Like our shit was rapid, but we are in the disaster zone that the country is in and doesn't yet know it's in. So we are like in disaster mode already.
I think Black people in the South are clear. I think Black people in the South are clear.
You know, whenever I say this, let's all be clear that the 92% will never be who we are talking about.
We're clear.
But the others, and that's going to be a whole nother set of panic. And I think, having gone through what we're talking about, you know, you got to preserve your panic for yours. You know what I mean? For your family, for your home, for your people. You got to preserve. Energy is infinite also within a body. It is not infinite at times. You have to know where your capacities and limits are. And I think community it's smaller, but it's more focused. In my world.
I know both of you have things that you've written that you want to share.
I've been documenting a lot, and my go-to is always writing, and it's always going to be some sort of poetry or performance art. And one thing I will say is that it's made me do a lot of writing. It has definitely, as you say, that this chaos, this tragedy is bringing forth the creativity, because it is the phoenix. It is, you are rising literally out of the ashes. You are reemerging slowly but surely, but relying on that which has been, you know, like that language and that space for me always. And I don't only want to write in it in these moments, but it's where I can go when I have a lot of feels, right? When I have a lot of emotions that I'm sorting through. And there's been plenty of writing, but I'll share this.
Okay.
The landscape is changed, framed by remnants of stairs that lead nowhere to climb to, see through. Can't tell if they lead up or down. Chimneys stand sentry as if to say, I was built for this. I testify that shit was fire. And I can say, it's okay. They were just things, but you cannot say that to me, particularly whilst you sit wrapped in your things, on your things, utilizing your things to convey this message to me. taking in the sights, smells, sounds of your things while you say it to me. And I promise this comes from a place of love and with all due respect. And I am not mad that you have your things because I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, because I saw her in a 4-hour line with me waiting on a $150 gift card. And I realized that was below her pay grade too. And my heart hurt for her. So no, I am not mad that you still have your things, but please don't tell me mine that are now dust and ashes were onlys and just. I wonder if my cast iron pots survived, if they are now under there, seasoned with the flavor of our lives and all that ever lived there now. If they are truly indestructible, and if they are, would I ever be able to cook in them again? Would I eat from them again without tasting the memory of what once was and lives only in my mind's eye and comes to me in my dreams repeatedly? I know, an awful thing, what it smells like. Not just fear, but the smell of your town burning. How loud destruction is, and the silence between you and your neighbor as you escape the danger, fleeing the threat to your lives, gathering your most prized possessions, your children, and getting as far and as fast as you can. I know the guilt of surviving or of not doing enough to save something or someone, or the vow that it'll never happen again. Never again knowing if it's the truth or a lie, because there wasn't anything you could do to stop it the first time. The landscape has changed. New views of an old town. Lines of sight burned out to reveal proximities. It looks like the 1800s charred to mimic the black and white photographs of folks building it, flipped and reversed to the raising of it. Even the imported trees, gone, just like the natives. Maybe a promising place to start again if we have the grit. After we remove the grime and clear out the remains, then we can begin to see, to envision again. We have the opportunity, we have the responsibility to determine what the landscape and the views will be.
That's beautiful, Staci.
Thank you for that.
The imagery, the metaphors. Thank you.
That's beautiful, Staci. If you all have never seen a Staci Mitchell production, I've had the pleasure of it. And watching Staci choreograph words and choreograph people is one of the greatest gifts. And that did not get lost in the fire. Thank you, Staci.
Thank you. Thank you.
So this was the first thing I wrote, and I wrote it to my community when they asked me to talk about it. So it's more of a letter. It took over a week, and a good friend saying to me, which was Crystal, you know, you are a victim of these fires as well. I hadn't allowed that reality to set in until she said this to me. I, like so many, had been moving in community crisis mode, and aside from my family's safety and well-being, I had not considered this is also happening to me. I was born and raised in this city. I am a crazy Los Angelino to my core, and my city is burning. My house is uninhabitable. My friends have lost homes. My neighborhood has lost its ecosystem and businesses that have been landmarks for some time. Did you know stone buildings burn like paper? Do you know how long smoke hovers in the air? Do you know that ash covers our streets where the trees used to be? Maybe I didn't feel it because of the shock, and maybe all I can think about is how much I want to work. How much I feel in my soul that now is one of those times the most devastated of us need to know the power of joy. Not to make us feel better, but to cloak us, to protect us, to ensure we do not rush into rebuilding and signing our lives away from a place of trauma or pain. To remember that the joy we are born with cannot burn, but it can be buried beneath insensitive social media posts, predatory politics, and even good intentions that can colonize our experience. I want to work, but I am one of the wounded, and that is humbling. Every platform I have used to help others, and I cannot find the words to ask for help for myself. This is the wisdom of Oya. This is what we know as spiritual law. This is as above, so below. This is the law of rhythm, polarity, and correspondence. These are things that I have to trust implicitly, especially now. Here are a few of the things that are carrying me at this time. I am aware that the end of something is the beginning of something else, so I have to remain open and curious about what that can be. I am asking myself, does this bring me joy as I make new decisions and navigate unfamiliar territory? I am allowing the joy of relief, gratitude, support, receiving, and more to coexist with uncertainty, deep grief, anxiety, and more. And I'm deciding to do what makes me feel good, even if and when it doesn't make sense to others. That's all.
What do you all need in this moment?
If you know.
I would like to not think. And I don't know how anyone can meet that need, but I'm so tired of thinking. I feel I want my mind to shut down for a bit. I want to feel quiet in my body, and I want to feel quiet in my mind. And I don't know how someone could give that to me, but it has not stopped ticking. Like tick, 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 tick.
Yeah.
Go, 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 go. Listen, and some of my people that would bring me that piece, like Staci's yoga class or Dietrich's massages, we was all in the fire. I was like, I need a massage, but Dietrich was in the fire. I need yoga, but Staci was in the fire. These women, these spaces, these were my homes. These were my spaces for these things. And so normally for me, I go away. You know, I go away. Maybe that is what I need to do. Maybe I need to step out of the smoke and see my city with fresh eyes, like re-enter my city after being away from it for a minute, re-enter it. I don't know. I think that might be somewhere along those lines.
Staci?
Maybe a week a week or two after the fires, I've thought, I'm gonna, I've been planning to come back to start teaching again, because not only did I take that social media break, I took a teaching hiatus from teaching anybody anything all of 2024. And I just came back into the seat of the student and practice. And I was having conversations about coming back to teaching, even going to a local yoga studio. Like, it's me, I'm Staci from Hieroglyphics. I bring my community here, a couple of weeks before this all happened. And so a couple of weeks in, I said, I'm going to get online and start teaching meditations because I feel that my community needs it. And I didn't even say I'm ready to teach. I just said, I'm going to offer this because I can tell that my community needs this. Until I saw my car. Y'all saw my photo of my car.
You was like, fuck.
And I was going to work, thought I was finna go back to work. And not like, like my work, like what you're doing, Thea, right? But like, the art, the narration, being in that booth for 6 hours and grinding out a book, like going back to work. And so I just said, girl, you ain't ready to do nothing.
Nothing.
What you need to do is you need to just be still. And you need to root in, and you got to handle home. You got to figure out what home is, where home is, cultivating that space, finding it, creating it again, within you first. Because I am the base of that. I am the root of that. I am the source of that for everybody. And And I feel like what I need most now, or at least what I want, is semi-permanent space from which to build that. And let me say this, the Black church is not playing. The Black church is organizing, nationwide. They are coming through for your sister, okay? And my family is rooted in the church. And so all of our extended communities are refusing to allow us to
for sure.
be alone. As I said, they don't want us to feel alone. No. And my girl corrected us. She said, no, you're not going to be alone.
Yeah,
You are not going through this. You are not going through this. So I know in that way, we are incredibly blessed. I have all my needs are being met and have been exceeded. I have to turn things away. What I want now is just that, that space. Put me the trip to the spa in a minute.
Yes.
I got to get out to the desert hot springs. I got to get down to Burke. I got to get my massages. I need to get back into
get it out the body.
Well, I asked that because we're a manifestation show. So I wanted it to be spoken so that, it can be provided. And, wherever you all are in your rebuild, your return, that, you get what you need. You get what you need. Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you, Staci.
Yes. Now it's time for one of our favorite segments where we put our own spin on sayings that Black mamas have been saying forever and ever. However, this being our first recording of a new year, we have to hit you with our word of the year, our intentions, all encapsulated in a single word. Y'all ready? Thea's ready. Let's go, Thea. What's your word for 2025?
Well, because mine was concise. I was clear. So my word comes from my Iya Fatu. She told me this year she wants me to expect. I had set very crazy, unrealistic expectations for myself. I do not do the same for other people. Look at Crystal. Everybody is my witness. Osa Okbe.
So is Lakeisha.
Lakeisha's they know my expectations for myself are super, super high. In contrast, my expectations for the outside world are very low. So at every turn, at every interaction, I have to ask myself, what do I expect? What do I expect? And how do I expect this thing to show up for me? So expect is my word. It's a big one. It's different for me. It's less like in the clouds for me. It's a lot more like I have to root in to do this. So y'all will be keeping me accountable.
Expect it is. All right. I like it.
I'm interested to see what that looks like for you.
Girl.
Yeah.
It's only February. And it feels like June. Is that not a fact?
Well, January was the longest month ever. So
it has been since 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my Christmas tree is still up.
Wow. So is mine.
And it makes me happy. I don't know if I'm going to take it down. I think I'm going to decorate it all year round with different. Oh, it's my birthday month. I could do a birthday Christmas tree.
You could.
So my word for the year comes from the Southern, dictionary maybe of the 90s. So this year I really want to stay in my lane and not get distracted out of my lane. And I want to really ride in my lane like I never have before. I want to push it to the limit. I don't want to veer off. So my word for the year is maintain. And you have to say it like that. You got to say maintain.
Maintain.
I'm a Gen Xer. So in the 90s, and I'm not sure if it was.
We said it in L.A. I know.
Okay.
We said it a lot in L.A.
Okay. It was okay. Yeah. So somebody, how you doing? Maintaining.
So
that is.
Or you would say, I'm just trying to maintain.
Just trying to maintain.
Just trying to maintain.
And that's what I really, really, really want to do, especially now with this. I don't even have the words for it. I mean, we've already seen.
Yeah.
It's going to be so easy to get distracted. And so I just want to make sure that I maintain and I by the end of the year, I want to be like, not only did I do things that I've always wanted to do, but I want to be like, oh, that blew my fucking mind.
Crystal,
when I experience something or do something.
That's it. That's the sound bite for the 92%. This is what I want to bring it back full circle. I want to bring it back.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
When we
She's
did the church
it back from the church
and the prayer list, right? We was like, what does it look like to not do the work? We maintain it. We maintain.
You
Stay
That's
in your
it.
lane. We stay in our, that is what it looks like, and that is what we are building a tolerance for. Crystal,
And you know how you'll know what you're working, what's not your work? It will cross your lane.
Yeah.
It will come. If it don't come in your lane, then it's not your work. Oh, it's not your work. And trust that there's somebody else out there to do it.
And even if it crosses through your lane,
you do have to look twice.
Do the piece that's about your shit and throw the rest away. Like still be critical. You know, still be critical.
Exactly.
And if it don't bring you joy, if it feel like work, y'all know what work feel like. You be like, that feel like work. I don't feel like doing that. You know that. That's the energy.
You ain't maintaining. You ain't maintaining.
If you're like, ooh, that feel like work. They like, girl, we about to go boycott. That feel like.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I think that I'm up for boycott.
I give people options because part of having a liberated, free 92% is some of us can choose to do things and some of us can choose not to do things. It's the freedom to choose.
Well, that's
according
true.
to what makes them feel good.
I always like to fit in my conversation with Elaine Brown whenever I can.
You do?
And whenever I can.
It's like Al Bundy's 4 touchdowns in a single game. You know that one time Elaine Brown had said.
I always like to mention, I always like bring it up casually. I got an opportunity to meet Elaine Brown once, who was the leader of the Black Panther Party when Huey P. Newton was living in exile in Cuba. And what she said was, I just like to bring it up that way. But what she said was, don't get nostalgic about the civil rights movement. I think that's the point I was trying to make earlier. She was like, everybody wasn't participating. Everybody couldn't participate.
Right.
And she was like...
Everybody couldn't.
Couldn't. And she said, can they do this? Can you just take the biscuits from the church to the school? You ain't got to go to no Black Panther classes. You ain't got to be the secretary. Can we find somebody who can take... On their way to work, they got to pass the church and they got to pass the school. But everybody didn't participate.
You have the right. Yeah. What if you're tired? What if you're resting? What if you're sick? You can choose that. And for people to shame you for choosing that is against the very liberation that they're saying they're fighting for.
You're right. For real.
So I think you just gave us, you tied it back, bitch. You tied it back.
Maintain.
Maintain. You ready for you, Nikisha?
I'm ready for me too. All right. So I actually do have a word. Surprise, surprise.
Surprise. We appreciate it, Nikisha.
Surprise, surprise.
We appreciate it. We should have a theme song.
For the first year in, I don't know how many, I come to the episode equipped. I've gone back and forth a little bit, and initially the word was going to be provision because I'm trying to manifest resources to outfit the dream, to outfit the work, to outfit.
Oh, I love that. Outfit the dream.
Yes. To bring to life so many of the things that I'm envisioning personally and for our family and professionally. And so provision, though, seems limiting to me because it is, in my mind at least, enough resources to get it all done. And I'm looking to be more expansive than that. So the word is abundance. And I knew when I landed on the word that Thea was going to come through with the but.
With the word of caution.
But wait. When you call in abundance, what else are you calling in?
Because I agree about provision. Provision is like basic needs, essentially, right? This is one of those that hits you in the back of the head. You're looking forward and it's going to sneak up behind you because it's going to test the channels by which you expect that abundance to come through. It could be offering you abundance over here, but because you're looking over here for it to come this way or in a certain form, you will miss it. That's a tricky thing. a lot of times when we think about abundance and we like manifest, we want things to come to us.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes they flow through other people to us. Sometimes they're just a thing that happened that you needed to happen, and you didn't have to put any work into it. It's not always so cut and clear that it comes. So you really have to pay attention, and you have to really watch where you mentally have blocked or feel like you expect those resources to come from, or the way that they're going to come, or how they're going to, all of that. The more of that scaffolding that you can erase, the more abundance can just rush at you. But it also requires a lot of receiving and like deep receiving and like uncomfortable receiving, very uncomfortable receiving.
So I thought, and I can appreciate that. And this certainly is an area where I have work to do. I thought that you were going to raise, as you often do during this discussion every year, sometimes when we call in a thing the yang, we call it the yin and the yang comes as well.
Yeah. Abundance was my word. Abundance was my word one year. Mm-hmm. And I experienced a lot of contraction.
Yeah.
But I experienced abundance, but things had to get smaller in order for me to move things out of the way to make room for what I was asking for. So there was no space for the abundance, and I wasn't prepared for the abundance. When things contract, it forces me to focus, right? And so my focus shifted, and I learned a lot from the focus shifting that I needed to learn in order to be a good steward over the abundance that I was receiving.
So your thing is focus. Nakisha's thing is control. So her thing about knowing how, when, where, who,
orchestrating it myself.
She already kind of has a mental picture of that abundance. She said to outfit the drink. I'm pointing out to her so that she doesn't have to go through the contraction as deeply for a different reason. Her contraction will be like, bitch, you ain't got no control over this shit. No, that's the kind of contraction
I can see that.
Could experience. And that's what I'm like, if you let go now of the idea of how and when and where and what, and that it has to come to you. It can come to somebody in your peripheral, and then they just bless you. It could come through your kids. Somebody could discover them on the road and be like, well, this kid deserves to be in movies. Something else could take care of you. Something else could come in and provide that for you. That was the tension with provision. I got you. Because provision almost was like seeding you in the space of providing as opposed to being provided for. And will you allow it? Or are you really sitting in a place where you feel like you want to provide and you want to have the means to provide? Because abundance requires so much receiving that you have to really sit in that feminine energy to hold it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's going to be work.
Yeah.
The work. Yeah.
The focus, what I was saying, though, was not necessarily focus on a thing. I just think that when things do contract, like even when you lose that control, your focus can't be the loss of the control. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So whatever form it happens in, it's going to force you to focus. And if you focus on the wrong thing, it gets tighter.
For example, if you focus on money, it will get tighter.
Yeah.
If you focus on your joy, what makes me happy, what makes me want to create, what makes me want to get up in the morning, what makes me want to do more of this, what makes you feel connected. But we believe you can get, this is going to happen for you this year. You know what? Because the thing about abundance that's interesting when we choose it as a word, what we're really saying is I don't feel abundant.
Yeah.
And that's the thing we're going to be working on this year. Why don't I feel abundant? If I'm in an abundant universe with abundance of resources, then why don't I feel it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
good.
big question.
Yeah. Follow us on Dim Black Mamas podcast. And if you don't want to miss a minute of the magic, sign up for our recently revamped...
Instagram. Follow us on Instagram. It's okay.
It also says Crystal there. That was confusing.
But it's not Crystal.
Touche, bitch.
It's not.
I call somebody out. You call me out. Is touche the right word there? Maybe. I don't know.
Let's do that one too. Touche.
Touche. Touche.
Touche.
All right. Follow us on Instagram at Dim Black Mamas Podcast. And if you don't want to miss a minute of the magic, sign up for our recently revamped newsletter, The Mothership, which includes reflections on the conversations we've been having and hearing. And we also share a collection plate cause where we'll spotlight causes and initiatives that resonate with our community.
And don't forget to check out our website, www.dimblackmamas.com. Dim Black Mamas is a conversation, so our inbox is always open. Send us your thoughts about the show, show us some love, and ask us some questions at magic@dimblackmamas.com.
And be sure to listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube. Don't just be watching. Hit that subscribe button and rate and review us. And don't forget to check out our Patreon. Look around, see if there's some stuff that you like up in there.
And sign up.
And in closing, maintain.
Expect.
Abundance.
Oh, I love it.
That's it.
That's all we got. We ain't got no more. Namaste.
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 Namaste. Namaste.